Luckily, it isn't by any means a large one. Also the case he's got it in. It's an iron map case in which he brought over the plans of his land in Brisbane. He wants to know who would suspect it of containing an old master, too. He's had it fitted with a new Chubb's lock, and I managed to take an interest in the key while he was gloating over the canvas. I had the wax in the palm of my hand, and I shall make my duplicate this afternoon."
Raffles looked at his watch and jumped up, saying he had given me a minute too much.
"By the way," he added, "you've got to dine with him at the Metropole to-night."
"I?"
"Yes, don't look so scared. Both of us are invited. I swore you were dining with me. I accepted for us both. But I shan't be there."
His clear eye was upon me, bright with meaning and with mischief. I implored him to tell me what his meaning was.
"You will dine in his private sitting-room," said Raffles. "It adjoins his bedroom. You must keep him sitting as long as possible, Bunny, and talking all the time."
In a flash I saw his plan. "You're going for the picture while we're at dinner."
"I am."
"And if he hears you?"
"He shan't."
"But if he does?" And I fairly trembled at the thought.
"If he does," said Raffles, "there will be a collision, that's all. Revolver would be out of place in the Metropole, but I shall certainly take a life-preserver."
"But it's ghastly," I cried, "to sit and talk to an utter stranger, and to know that you're at work in the next room."
"2,000 apiece," said Raffles quietly.
"Upon my soul, I believe I shall give it away."
"Not you, Bunny. I know you better than you know yourself."
He put on his coat and hat. "What time have I to be there?" I asked him with a groan.
7:45. There will be a telegram from me saying I can't turn up. He's a terror to talk. You'll have no difficulty in keeping the ball rolling, but head him off his picture for all you're worth. If he offers to show it to you, say you must go. He locked up the case elaborately this afternoon, and there's no earthly reason why he should unlock it again in this hemisphere."
"Where shall I find you when I get away?"
"I shall be down at Esher. Hope to catch the 9:55.
"But surely I can see you again this afternoon?" I cried in a ferment, for his hand was on the door. "I'm not half coached up yet. I know I shall make a mess of it."
"Not you,"
he said again.
"but I shall if I waste any more time. I've got a deuce of a lot of rushing about to do yet. You won't find me at my rooms. Why not come down to Esher yourself by the last train? That's it. Down you come with the latest news. I'll tell old Debenham to expect you. He shall give us both a bed. By Jove, he won't be able to do us too well if he's got his picture."
"If!" I groaned as he nodded his adieu, and then left me limp with apprehension, sick with fear, in a perfectly pitiable condition of pure stage fright. For after all, I had only to act my part, unless Raffles failed where he never did fail, unless Raffles, the neat and noiseless, was for once clumsy and inept. All I had to do was indeed to smile and be a villain. I practiced that smile half the afternoon. I rehearsed putative parts in hypothetical conversations. I got up stories. I dipped in a book on Queensland at the club. And at last it was 7:45, and I was making my bow to a somewhat elderly man with a small bald head and a retreating brow.
"So you're Mr. Raffles' friend,"
he said, overhauling me rather rudely with his light small eyes.
"Seen anything of him? Expected him early to show me something, but he's never come."
No more, evidently, had his telegram, and my troubles were beginning early. I said I had not seen Raffles since 1 o'clock, telling the truth with unction while I could. Even as we spoke there came a knock at the door. It was the telegram at last, and after reading it himself the Queenslander handed it to me.
"Called out of town," he grumbled. "Sudden illness of near relative. What near relatives has he got?"
I knew of none, and for an instant I quailed before the perils of invention. Then I replied that I had never met any of his people,
and again felt fortified by my veracity. "Thought you were bosom pals," he said, with, as I imagined, a gleam of suspicion in his crafty little eyes. "Only in town," said I. "I've never been to his place." "Well," he growled, "I suppose it can't be helped. Don't know why he wouldn't come and have his dinner first. Like to see the deathbed I'd go to without my dinner. It's a full-skin billet, if you ask me. Well, must just dine without him, and he'll have to buy his pig in a poke after all. Mind touching that bell? Suppose you know what he came to see me about. Sorry, I shan't see him again, for his own sake. I like Raffles. Took to him amazingly. He's a cynic. Like cynics. One myself. Rank bad form of his mother or his aunt, and I hope she will go and kick the bucket." I connected these specimens of his conversation, though they were doubtless detached at the time, and interspersed with remarks of mine here and there. They filled the interval until our dinner was served, and they gave me an impression of the man which his every subsequent utterance confirmed. It was an impression which did away with all remorse for my treacherous presence at his table. He was that terrible type, the silly cynic, his aim a caustic commentary on all things and all men, his achievement mere vulgar irreverence and unintelligent scorn. Ill-bred and ill-informed, he had, on his own showing, fluked into fortune on a rise in land. Yet cunning he possessed, as well as malice, and he chuckled until he choked over the misfortunes of less astute spectators in the same boom. Even now I cannot feel much compunction for my behaviour by the Honourable J. M. Craggs, M.L.C. But never shall I forget the private agonies of the situation, the listening to my host with one ear and for Raffles with the other. Once I heard him, though the rooms were not divided by the old-fashioned folding doors, and though the door that did divide them was not only shut but richly curtained, I could have sworn I heard him once. I spilt my wine and laughed at the top of my voice at some coarse sally of my host's, and I heard nothing more, though my ears were on the strain. But later, to my horror, when the waiter had finally withdrawn, Craggs himself sprang up and rushed to his bedroom without a word. I sat like stone till he returned. "Thought I heard a door go," he said. "Must have been mistaken. Imagination. Gave me quite a turn. Raffles tell you priceless treasure I got in there?" It was the picture at last. Up to this point I had kept him to Queensland and the making of his pile. I tried to get him back there now, but in vain. He was reminded of his great ill-gotten possession. I said that Raffles had just mentioned it, and that set him off. With the confidential garrulity of a man who has dined too well, he plunged into his darling topic, and I looked past him at the clock. It was only 10:15. In common decency I could not go yet, so there I sat (we were still at port), and learned what had originally fired my host's ambition to possess what he was pleased to call a real, genuine, twin-screw, double-funnelled, copper-bottomed old master. It was to go one better than some rival legislator of pictorial proclivities. But even an epitome of his monologue would be so much weariness. Suffice it that it ended inevitably in the invitation that I had dreaded all the evening. "But you must see it. Next room. This way." "Isn't it packed up?" I inquired hastily. "Lock and key, that's all." "Pray don't trouble," I urged. "Trouble be hanged," said he. "Come along." And all at once I saw that to resist him further would be to heap suspicion upon myself against the moment of impending discovery. I therefore followed him into his bedroom without further protest, and suffered him first to show me the iron map case which stood in one corner. He took a crafty pride in this receptacle, and I thought he would never cease descanting on its innocent appearance and its Chubb's lock. It seemed an interminable age before the key was in the latter. Then the ward clicked, and my pulse stood still. "By Jove!" I cried next instant. The canvas was in its place among the maps.
"Thought it would knock you," said